The glass conference room felt colder than usual that Tuesday afternoon. I stood up slowly, the revised NDA still untouched on the polished table in front of me. Victoria Lang, our new CTO, stared at me from the head of the table, her manicured fingers resting on the stack of policies she'd just distributed like some kind of corporate communion. The air conditioning hummed in the background, but no one else moved. Not a single engineer shifted in their chair. I smoothed my dark blazer, pushed my chair in with a soft scrape, and walked out without a word. The sound of my sneakers on the epoxy floor echoed down the hallway as I left VoltForge energy behind. To understand why that single walk felt like freedom instead of defeat, you have to go back 6 months earlier, to when I was still deep in the zone at our startup in the Bay Area. My name is Elena Voss, and back then I lived for the hum of the lab late at night. The rest of the team would clock out at 6, high-five over completed Jira tickets, and head home to their families or happy hours.
Me?
I stayed. I'd crawl under workbenches with a flashlight clenched between my teeth, voltmeter tucked into my pocket, chasing that perfect modular balance in our battery systems. We were building next-generation modular power platforms for renewable energy storage, scalable units that could adapt voltage in real time for solar farms, EV charging stations, even off-grid communities. The founder, Alex Rivera,
Understood me.
he didn't hover. He didn't demand PowerPoints. When in doubt, ask Elena, he'd say with that easy grin. Or better, check her notebooks. Because I documented everything. Not just the clean versions pushed to our shared drives, but the raw sketches, edge cases, the undocumented brilliance scribbled on diner napkins and scanned at 2 a.m. I kept physical backups too, off-site, labeled innocuously like 2019 battery logs, personal reference. No one knew how deep my personal archive went. I trusted paper and my own encrypted drives more than any cloud system the company provided. I wasn't trying to be a hero or hoard knowledge. I was obsessed. When module integration finally stabilized after weeks of private testing in my garage, I felt like I'd captured lightning. The hybrid adaptive load balancer I'd designed wasn't in any textbook. It handled dynamic inputs from solar and grid simultaneously without throttling, something our early prototypes struggled with. But I kept 2 versions, the sanitized one for the team, and my full dirty version with all the undocumented safeguards and failover logic. We were pushing hard towards Series B funding. Investors wanted flashy demos, battery icons pulsing like Vegas signs, sleek renders showing seamless scaling. No one asked me the real state of the core. I hadn't pushed my latest tweaks to the main repo. Those were tested privately, off-network, on rigs I bought with my own money over weekends. I had a quiet understanding with Alex. Anything built on company time with company tools belonged to VoltForge. But my garage experiments?
Mine.
Clear verbal agreement, backed by my original employment contracts clause protecting independently developed off-site material. Then Victoria arrived in early spring like a spreadsheet come to life. Blonde, surgical precision in her tailored pantsuits, fresh from streamlining other startups. She didn't shake hands, she made announcements. "This isn't a hobby farm anymore," she declared in her first all-hands, heels clicking sharply on the floor. She scrapped our flexible sprint model for her agile realignment, code for endless meetings and product managers asking if our modules could be TikTokified for marketing appeal. By day 3, she rolled out retroactive IP assignments. Unified tech ownership, she called it. New NDAs thicker than phone books. Alex had stepped back to advisory, and the board had brought her in to professionalize us. I read every line of the new policies carefully. My original contract had no retroactive clauses. No forced assignment for off-site work not commissioned during paid hours. The phrase, "employees shall retain sole ownership of independently developed material," was still there in black and white. Victoria didn't see gray areas. She called it standardizing the house. I saw legal landmines. In one early vision session, she sketched convoluted IP flows on the whiteboard, throwing around terms like value chain custodianship and innovation funnel ownership. I waited until the end and asked calmly, how does the retroactive clause affect prior offsite developments not listed in previous contribution matrices? She froze for a beat. Then that tight predatory smile. If you don't like the new policies, you can leave. Nervous laughter rippled around the table. I didn't flinch. Appreciate the clarity, I replied flatly. That was the moment the decision crystallized. I wasn't angry yet, just focused, like the calm before a system test. That night, sleep evaded me. I sat in my small apartment in Oakland, feeding my rescue dog Max and staring at the folder I'd labeled Elena Core offline. Everything from the last 4 years lived there, timestamped schematics, scanned napkins with barbecue sauce stains from a 4th of July sketch session, encrypted drives with a real adaptive node algorithm no one at VoltForge had fully grasped. The company demo deck showed a simplified version. My personal archive held the beating heart, the voltage sync module, hybrid adaptive load balancer, external stack interface, and auto failover logic that made the whole platform sing under real-world stress. I powered up my air-gapped personal laptop, the one with 0 corporate traces. Cross-checked dates, diagrams, provenance. At 2:13 a.m., I filed the first provisional patent with the USPTO. By 3:27, for were submitted under my name alone, full logs, backups, and chains attached. The timestamps matched my originals perfectly. They couldn't touch these. Not with any NDA. The next morning, I returned to the office one final time. I didn't slam drawers or make a scene. Just collected my personal notebooks, the ones with margin insights no one else had seen. I took the framed photo of Alex and me holding the first live prototype. Not for sentiment, but documentation. As I walked past reception and out into the gray parking lot, no one followed. No calls came. They had no idea what I'd taken with me, the map to their core system. Victoria strutted around like she owned the building now. More meetings, more printouts of policies. The hallway printer groaned under NDAs and contribution reconfirmation forms. Engineers murmured in the break room. But no one openly questioned her. I was already mentally gone, planning quietly at home. Weeks passed. I heard through quiet channels that things were starting to hiccup. Version histories grew murky. Feature logs had blank spots where dependencies should have been. The modular handshake protocols, the ones relying on my undocumented edge case handling, began glitching in deeper integration tests. They could spin up the UI for demos, flash pretty icons, but underload the dynamic voltage redistribution stalled. Reboots didn't fix it. Rollbacks revealed incomplete commits because I'd never pushed the real heart of Module B. They didn't understand the absence. You can't troubleshoot what was never fully shared. The real optimizations lived only in my garage rigs and private tests. I hadn't been noble. I'd protected what the contract allowed me to keep. The murmurs grew. A junior engineer I barely knew messaged me one evening. Did you actually walk with the core IP? I replied simply. I walked with what was always mine. No more, no less. The cracks widened faster than anyone anticipated. VoltForge pushed ahead with launch readiness anyway. PR spun countdowns. Slack channels filled with celebratory emojis and false confidence. But the system wheezed where it once hummed. Feature logs showed missing provenance for adaptive loops. When a partner firm flagged core module B appears incomplete during IP compliance review, panic set in quietly. Victoria waved it off initially. Just clean it up. She didn't grasp that you can't scrub away absence or mask logic built beyond her sandbox. My departure left a hole the exact shape of the truth. 2 weeks after my exit, due diligence for Series B intensified. Real Capital Partners, a major investor group, ran final checks. Questions poured in. Chain of ownership for modules A through D. Original design assignments for core module B. Patent originator for the adaptive node algorithm. Internal logs were vague. Dates didn't align perfectly. Backups lacked full history. The diligence report's kicker: significant elements appear to have been developed independently. No assignment documentation found. Emails flew. Victoria's team scrambled for anything proving I'd signed away the crown jewels. They couldn't, because I hadn't. My provisional patents were already filed and timestamped as landmines. Victoria emailed me directly on a Friday evening. Let's talk. Cute stunt. Very thorough. But we both know this ends the same way. Back at the table. Name your terms. Smug. Passive-aggressive. I stared at the screen over cold coffee. She still thought this was a negotiation she controlled. I didn't reply. Silence was my answer. Paper policies burn. My protected innovations didn't. Investor Roadshow Day arrived at a sleek downtown co-working space with kombucha on tap. Victoria front and center in her power blazer. 2 new engineers flanked the demo unit nervously. She rattled off metrics: scalable, sustainable, disruptive. Investors nodded along until Q&A. First question: walk us through voltage mapping under dual input. Awkward silence. Then mumbled jargon about dynamic load feedback. Gibberish. Incorrect. I knew because I'd built it. Second: patent status on adaptive framework? Victoria smoothed in confidently. In the process of finalizing claims. The lead investor, older with gray hair and sharp eyes, leaned forward.
No.
They're finalized. Filed under independent ownership prior to your revised agreements. We checked. The room stilled. The demo unraveled quietly. Investors packed early. No shouting. Just disappointed silence louder than any explosion. Revoked trust wrapped in legal filings hit harder than theatrics. By Monday, internal memos euphemistically reassigned Victoria to strategic advisory on non-technical initiatives. Translation: benched permanently. No apology. No admission. The board tried to contain damage. But whispers became headlines within the startup ecosystem. I didn't gloat. True leverage isn't loud celebration. It's quiet protection. I read the memo,
Closed the tab.
and returned to my notes. Later that afternoon, an email arrived from one of the roadshow investors. Let's discuss a license agreement. Attachment: clean preliminary draft. Respectful terms. Not to VoltForge, but directly to their new entity. They wanted the core tech on my terms, licensing with exclusive rights granted to them. Recognizing origination over packaging. I let silence sit 24 hours to underscore the weight. Then replied, open to licensing provided exclusive rights to your firm. Not the original company. Agreement came within the hour. By week's end, provisional licensing was signed. My name front and center. Clean. Renewable. Enforceable. Respect. Finally. The final pitch attempt was their supposed redemption. CEO in casual trust sweater. Engineers exhausted. Slide deck sanitized. But missing the heart. They started with projections and buzzwords. Investor interrupted. Walk us through real-time adaptive voltage mapping under modular load right now. Silence stretched. Legal tried spinning, ongoing evolution, and robust principles. Investor cut through. I'm asking what it does today. How it works. A voice from the back finally admitted softly. We don't own it. The room collapsed under those 4 words. No more pivots. Just raw, overdue truth. Investor leaned back with profound disappointment. Understood. Screen went dark. Call ended without summary or follow-up. Back in my home office. Monitor light illuminating the soldering station and patent folders arranged like dominoes. I sipped lukewarm coffee and opened a new project file. Fresh structure. Cleaner logic, something better born from the ashes. Above the monitor, a crooked yellow sticky note in my handwriting read, "Next time, let them talk first." The experience left lingering questions about innovation in corporate America. How many brilliant minds walk away quietly because systems try to own what contracts never granted? Victoria's arrogance assumed control trumped creation. But paper can't capture the midnight obsessions, the garage rigs funded personally, the undocumented insights that make systems truly work. Volt-Forge Series B collapsed. Without the core IP, demos failed under scrutiny. Partners pulled back. And the company restructured painfully. Victoria faded into advisory obscurity. I moved forward licensing selectively, building on my terms with partners who valued engineering over acquisition. In the quiet evenings now, with Max curled at my feet and the workbench humming softly, I reflect on the cost of obsession and the power of documentation. The tech world rewards those who protect their fire. But it also asks, when does safeguarding your mind become isolation? And when does corporate hunger cross into theft? I protected what was mine. Yet wonder how many unspoken Norris or Alinus still labor in labs, wondering if their notebooks will one day be erased by the next polished executive in heels. The hum of my personal prototypes continues late into the night. Not spite, but necessity. The real system lives on, independent and alive, whispering possibilities no policy could ever claim. And in that whisper lies both triumph and the quiet ache of what could have been if trust had prevailed over control.